Hello and welcome to my podcast from Stress to Success Blueprint. I'm your host Lolita Gorin, and I'm super excited today because I have Lynn Schussler-Williams with me, and she is certified reset specialist, dynamic speaker, and accomplished author of 9 Little Words to Change Your Results. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But she is also a founder of Uprising Events and producer to Be More Conference for Women, which I had an honor to be invited to be the speaker. We just had like a month or two, feels like. So I highly recommend to attend the next event of hers. And Lynn is dedicated to creating transformative experiences that empower individuals to reach their full potential. And no, yes, for real, she does that. And with her expertise as a sales coach, we all can use sales coaches. Lynn provides practical strategies for personal and professional success, inspiring her audiences with her engaging and actionable approach to growth and achievement. So welcome, Lynn.
Thank you, Lolita. I'm so glad to be here.
You are doing so much, and I bet that a lot of people who can see how much you do, they all thinking, how can you do this? And all the stresses that come with that. This is a podcast about stress management, and I want to start with something that when I just introduced you about, reset it method. Can you please take away the mystery? What is it?
Yes, I would love to. It is an important tool in our toolbox for managing all kinds of things, stress especially included, right? So, Reset It is a process that's based on neuroscience and quantum physics. And I teach it to my clients, and it allows them to reset the things in their lives that don't belong to them. And here's what I mean by that. We all have programming and conditioning in our lives where we get programming from people, our parents, teachers, bosses, spouses, friends, siblings, like all the people, right? Say things to us and we take it in. And sometimes those things kind of get embedded and they become a filter through which we see ourselves in the world, but they don't really belong to us. Somebody else gave it to us. And by conditioning, I mean that which life teaches us over and over, right? The conditioned response. We start to think, oh, if this happens, that happens. The same way, the classical conditioning experiment that Pavlov did with the dogs, right? That most people are familiar with. So, and sometimes programs and conditions go together. I often give the example of a child in school and a teacher says, "Oh, don't worry, Johnny, you're not good at math. You'll be good at something else." And Johnny then spends his whole life proving to himself, "I'm not good at math," right? It started as a program he got from someone else. And it turned into a conditioned response, hands breaking into a sweat every time he has to do his taxes or whatever, because it's a message of I'm not good at math. So those are things that don't really belong to us, and we can reset them. I guess the most important thing I would want people to know about Reset It is that all of us can do it. It's just nobody's taught us how yet. So it's very accessible. If there's one thing my clients almost all say to me at some point, it's, wow, can it really be this simple? So the answer is yes.
When I heard about what you were teaching, I immediately was so intrigued by that because I want to know I can use a tool that is easy to use and doesn't take that much time. There's so much out there that has to do with stress management, with business building, and all of this. And those tools are like, oh my gosh, you have to attend the program on this. And I remember when I got a meeting with you, there was enough time, but only was like, okay, just only 2 times. Do I need to talk to you 2 times? This is incredible. And after the first, I remember very clearly after first our meeting, and of course we did that online. The things that I was struggling with, they were like just disappearing over a weekend. That was like the most productive weekend I ever had because, like, for example, for those who are listening in, I had a problem of just procrastinating, and I would just get so close, and then I just don't want to finish it. And when we worked together, you taught me how to do it, and all of that was just gone, and I had the most productive weekend. And as a stress management coach, I always say you cannot bulldoze yourself into success. And there's so many of those gurus who would tell you, oh yeah, you need to just push it through it. You need to do this and you need to do that. And you need to be so, then you'll be happy and rich and all of this. But I always say, and I'm coming from a lot of about childhood trauma, that like you just said, there is this programming in your head, and you cannot bulldoze from this because it is serving us. It's serving us to keep us safe. And that
Yeah.
was a fully blown mind that you can do this one process and it helps just like magic.
And I'm so glad you said that because there are a couple of things you said that I want to go back to. One of them is we in the personal and business development fields, we get all this advice from the gurus. All these people are telling us, you need years of therapy. You have to work hard at it. You have to do this and that and study and push through it. Those are all programs. Those are all programs. And as coaches, right, we receive those programs from the people who train us, and then we pass them on to our clients. The same way our parents received programs from their parents and passed them on to us, and then we pass them on to our kids, right? It is all programming. And so when we remove that, we have the power to make decisions free from the filters that we're seeing ourselves and the world through that don't really belong to us. And it is so freeing. The other thing you said that I think is so important is, it doesn't have to be hard. It just is simple. And so, yeah, it's an amazing process. I think too, Lolita, it's like it's hard to describe to people a little bit. And I say all the time, it's a process based on neuroscience and quantum physics. But all that really means is that it is based on how our brains work. That's the neuroscience. And the energy of how we interact with our environment, with the universe, with what's around us, right? That's the quantum physics. And so I say those words and they're true, but I wouldn't want anyone to think, oh, I have to understand quantum physics or neuroscience in order to do this. No, no, no. This is something we can all do. Just nobody's taught us how yet.
And what I love about the process, especially for those people who thinking, oh no, this process will not work for me because I'm very different and my life experience. I think that itself already shows the limiting belief that you cannot even do it. So I would recommend people to book a call with you and work on them. Why do they think they're not even worthy to receive help? And when I work a lot with the clients who they come to me and they say, "Oh, I'm stressed out, burnout," and I'm like,
Mm,
"Okay, so let me see why you think you're doing this?" And a lot of it, especially that those who have businesses it's like, well, you have to work for your business 24/7 because you afraid that to drop the ball and so many people depend on you and your family and if you have employees. But also,
yeah.
then oh, I have the family I need to take care of. And and what they say, the burnout happens when we continuously running to that horizon and we cannot even take a breath. And when I tell my clients, I say, and even those who are listening right now, I say, okay, the fastest thing is to do for you right now. Just take 1 minute and just do nothing for every hour. Now, for those who are listening in and they think to themselves, I can do this. Awesome. Start doing it. But for those who thought, oh my gosh, first of all, no, this is so simple. It's not going to work for me. Or they say, a minute, I don't have time for this. That is that pattern that we're talking about. It's like,
Yeah.
why do you think you are not worthy of receiving help or helping yourself? That
Mm,
is just another program that we've been taught that, well,
right.
you're not enough for who you are. So you need to perform. You have to run to that horizon. You need to hustle and hustle and hustle and hustle to finally feel like you are valuable enough and you will be validated for what you do. But that all is so solvable just doing a process. And I tell you, I use it almost every day. Like if I want to do something and I immediately start feeling about my body, like, oh, I'm feeling a little uneasy, or I feel a little bit unsafe. I immediately ask myself, where is this thought coming from? And when it comes from there, then I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Reset it. I work with that. And for
Yeah.
those people who are listening in, and I'm telling you, it can take just minutes. It doesn't even take 30 seconds. If when you get your process done, you know where do you need to go. And like it's for me, like for those who are thinking like, well, what is it? For me, it's like a feeling, but like a thought, like your focus, your intuition. It's a lot of this woo-woo stuff going on. But when you get your process done, you know exactly what place in your mind you need your brain to go. And then you just can process this so fast. You can be sitting in traffic and, Lynn teaches you like to close your eyes and everything. I don't even close my eyes anymore. I'm like, because I know where this located. I'm like, okay, this, that. And then it works. So one of my favorite stress management tools is really reset it.
I love hearing that. I love hearing it so much. And some people might be thinking, well, I don't even know what my limiting beliefs are, but you said a word. So, first of all, you don't have to know in order to do reset it. You don't have to know what's in your way because we have ways to help you discover it. But you also, you said the word patterns. Like, where are the patterns in your life that you don't like? Where are the patterns that aren't serving you? There's your clue as to where there are programs and conditions that are supporting you in keeping those patterns up. And I'll give you examples. You know, we do a lot of reset it with people around food, right? We are inundated with programming, social programming about what we should want to eat and what's good and comfort food and all these are all just programs. And if you've ever been someone like I was who I ate a lot of sugar, loved everything about it, was brought up to think if there's a problem, eat your way to the answer, right? Like all of that. And now I don't experience any of that. Not eating sugar is no big deal. I simply look at it and go, I don't really want that. That's not for me. I just don't want it anymore because I reset all the programs around it. And so we also see people who, there are big categories of things that almost every adult has some programming in those big categories. So, food, our relationships with food, that's one of them. Money, our relationships with money. Somebody taught us how to think about money. And so we all have programs around money that, if we could get rid of them, then we could make good decisions quickly, easily, see our own answers, all that sort of thing. Um, this week, I've had 3 clients who had programs around taxes, right? Programs around the holidays, programs around relationships, programs around like these are all categories that people have programming and conditioning around. You don't have to know what they are, and you don't have to dig in and analyze them to death either. We can recognize them, we have a way to validate them, and then we just simply work the process and reset them.
And I could add that for those who they thinking, oh my gosh, this sounds like complicated. Like for example, if we have trust issues with the people, with clients, with whatever, we don't have to go and analyze like, why do I have a trust issue with my mother, for example, or something. We just can say I have trust issues, or like, or I have this feeling, and it just can encompass so many things that can be released and processed at the same time and very fast. And what I loved about this, that you can, when you teach the process, there's a lot of, it starts with the feeling and into your body. And it amazes me every time how I could feel how the body just really like just relaxes. And
Yes.
one thing that for me personally, I realized that I started yawning, and like I have this big sigh like, ah, and
Yeah.
it comes out every time. And I'm like, this is like a little like the sign from your body saying, hey, I released this, now it's good. And it changes so fast. but I know we can talk about this a lot, but I still
Yeah.
want to, you can tell I'm very passionate about this. So, and again, those who are listening in, they need to book a call with you. I want to ask you, how did you get to this? Because it's obviously you didn't, we were born with a reset it in your mind like a chip,
No.
So please tell me about your story, how you get to that.
Yeah, so it's kind of a fascinating story, actually. I have always been, since a very young adult, about 18 years old, I've been on a journey of exploration and trying to learn about personal and spiritual development and that sort of thing. And when I was 38, I was already very much on this personal development path. My father said something that explained from my childhood an event, a series of events that left me with a limiting belief. And I was aware of this feeling, but didn't know where I had it or where it came from. And the story is that when I was about 8 years old in the late 60s, my father owned a trucking company. And at the time, Jimmy Hoffa, who was an organized crime lord, was in charge of the Teamsters Union. And my father got a call. His life was threatened. He got several of those, but he also got one specifically about me. So these people called and they were trying to get him to sign a contract with them that was more to their benefit than what he had already signed. And he said no. And they said, well, we saw your little girl walking to school today. She had on a red sweater and a blue skirt, and it'd be really shame if something happened to her on the way home. And that was me. So I lived in a high level of stress, which I was a small child. I didn't understand it, didn't have a clear knowledge of what was going on, but there was clearly a heightened level of stress around me. And the embedded belief that that left me with was that it isn't safe to be too successful, that it's better to just fly under the radar. And it's interesting, Lolita, just this past week, I found in some of my mother's effects my fourth and fifth grade report cards. And they said to a comment, the teachers wrote things like, I don't understand why Lynn doesn't live up to her potential. Why. And it was because I was operating from this program and conditioned belief that it's better to fly under the radar. It's not safe to be too successful. And so you can track that through my whole young adult life, my relationship with men, my relationship with food, my relationship with my body, my relationship with my career, my relationship with academia, like all of it. It's reflected through all of that. So when it came out when I was 38 and I saw the connection to what had happened as a child, I thought, wow, that explains a lot. And I, from that moment on, became dedicated to learning how to undo limiting beliefs. I spent many years, I was certified in tapping 20 something years ago because if you said to me, there's a way, right? I worked with multiple hypnotherapists. I did everything anybody could tell me would undo these limiting beliefs. And some of them helped some, but it was still there. It was still operating as a filter through which I saw myself in the world. And I didn't know how to extricate it completely. And then one day I met Mark Mathis, who's the founder of the Reset It process. And, I was like, hi, what do you do? And he said, well, I have this process based on neuroscience and quantum physics that allows people to reset what doesn't belong to them. And I said, I'm in. How do I sign up for that? Because that's what I did, right? And after the first session, Lolita, I was astounded at differences in my life. And at the end of the second session, our basic training is 2 sessions. At the end of the second session, Mark said, well, you got anything else you want to reset? And I said, no, I want you to spend this last 10 minutes telling me how you're going to teach me how to do what you do, because all my sales coaching clients, everybody I know needs this and needs to understand how to do it. And initially he said, well, I've been doing it by myself for 15 years. I've thought about certifying other people. And I was just like, time to stop thinking. So I was so just grateful to get to be the first certified Reset It specialist in the world. There are now 12 to 14 of us, something like that, and growing all the time. And around the world, we have people who speak different languages teaching it, all of it. And it's just been an amazing journey for me and more of a transformation than all the 40 plus years of transformational work I had done in other ways.
Thank you so much for sharing this. And what I noticed with a lot of people, when we think about something big that influencing our lives, like for example, like, stress is like, oh my gosh, this is draining
Yes.
energy, this is impacting my health and all of this.
Yeah.
We think that the solution to that also needs to be the same heavy and very valuable, and it will take us a lot of time and effort and energy. And I think that's where a lot of people just give up, because they're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's going to take me so much time or effort or money or energy, and I already don't have this. I'm already burned out. I'm already broke. And your process, the reset process is just so simple. I cannot stress this enough. It's like, for those who listening and they're like, okay, this is amazing, but I don't think it's gonna take a while for me to do it. No, you can learn it definitely. But now those who will not take up on this offer, they're like, well, I don't know. That's okay. I'm not saying that they all need to sign up for that. We all this is our willpower. We choose whatever we want to live our lives. But I want to talk now with you a little bit. How is that you deal the rest of your stress? How what do you do? Some time management, so other things. What does your day look like? What other self-help and self-development things that you do during your life to keep yourself grounded and sane, that does not has nothing to do with reset it process?
Well, there's not much I do that has nothing to do with Reset It. I'll tell you that at this point. I mean, I've spent years as a meditator. I've spent years as a teacher of all kinds of processes. And um, while I still may use some of that, it is definitely all influenced by Reset It because I don't use all the things I know anymore because I don't need to. But I definitely, um, you know, I feel that a clear understanding for ourselves about the frequency of our lives is so important. You know, Dr. David R. Hawkins wrote The Map of Consciousness Explained and Power versus Force and all these books about frequency. He was a scientist. And when we understand our choices about frequency and what frequency we're going to operate in and where we want to be frequency wise in our lives, then we use whatever tools come to us for that. For me, the primary tool is Reset It, but I also really enjoy um, using recorded specific frequency musics and things like that just at during relaxing times. I will several times a week just say, I'm done for the day. I'm going to go put my feet up and plug my earbuds in and listen and just be and just relax. I think, that's not something we're programmed uh, very much to do. And I love doing that. I love that I feel willing to do that. And so I do things like that. I make choices. One of the benefits of the reset it process is you make decisions and choices no longer based on stuff that doesn't belong to you. So it's easy to deal with things like stress or tiredness, fatigue, because then you just make a choice to deal with it that's the right choice for you.
And I remember, recently, it still feels to me fairly recently, that you lost your brother and you had some, other
Mm.
things happening in your family. And
Yes.
I remember I was asking you how are you holding up and all things, and when you told me that you also using even for that reset it, I think for someone who's listening in, they always can think that okay, I can take care of my finances and whatever, something. But when we have those emergencies in our lives that it has to do with other people, that can get very, very stressful.
Yeah, it really can. And we have lots of social programs around grief, right? That's one that we're told all kinds of things about grief, depending on our backgrounds and our cultures and all of that, right? And it's okay to feel whatever you feel, right? I had moments of sadness when that happened, no question, right? This was someone, he was my older brother. He'd been in my life my entire life, and he was, a favorite person of mine and all of that. So, of course, there were times when I felt sad, but that sadness was not so heavy because I was not also dealing with the programs that said you need to go through stages of grief or you need to whatever, right? I didn't have any of that. And so it definitely gives us tools to deal with whatever's coming up. And that's important, I think. It's been a huge gift for me, that's for sure.
If we're talking more about stress management and success and just pure happiness, somebody can listen in and think, okay, great. So I'm just gonna get a reset it process, and I don't need anyone else, and we're good to go. Well, obviously not. We need other people because
Yes.
we are herd animals, and we need to feel like we belong in a group. We need to feel like we have a goal that inspires us and also helping others. That gives us satisfaction. And when I read your bio, if, for everyone who don't know you, to introduce you, I mentioned a lot of things, and that you do a lot of about sales, but also you supporting a lot of women and their businesses. Would you mind touching a little bit on that? How much of support did you give, and what are you excited? What's coming up next for you?
Well, Reset It's my business, but I do a lot of other things, all of them because I want to be in them. I feel like, there that some of them people tell me are a gift I give the world, and I'm like, truly, it's a gift I give me. So it is absolutely a Wise Women Collective is a group of women. We do free, everything in it's free women's networking and connection events. We have one weekly called Celebration Friday. And the beauty of Celebration Friday is when you create a rhythm in your life of celebrating, it is definitely a stress management tool, right? It is celebrating is, I think of gratitude. We've all heard, remember how Oprah made us all aware of gratitude in the 90s, right? So we all had a gratitude journal and it was all, so gratitude I think of as a great shifter. It shifts us to a new way of thinking. And celebration is if gratitude is a bed of coals, celebration is like pouring some lighter fluid on it, right? It really just ignites it in your life. And so we create a habit of celebrating with Celebration Friday, and then we have a monthly event called Wise Women Wednesday. That's all about connecting. And you said it, we are people who we enjoy connecting with each other. And over the last few years with the global pandemic and all of that stuff, we were isolated more. And so having ways to connect with each other, to um, learn about each other, to support each other, to uplift each other, and women do that so well together. So Wise Women Collective is that. We also I have two partners in that. I founded it as an in-person event in Louisville, Kentucky years ago. And then when the pandemic hit, it became online and global. And so I have two partners who work in that with me, Brooke Haynes and Holly Hartman, who are fabulous women. And we have started a Wise Women Collective radio show. It's an internet radio show, YouTube channel, podcast. It's in all the places. And So people can find out about all of that at wisewomencollectivehq.com and find the community and all of that. But it is something I get so excited about and so passionate about because I really feel like it is it is important for us as women to have that community and support each other and learn how to support each other and learn how to receive all the good stuff. And we aren't always taught that along the way, so that's important to me.
I really treasure your time and energy that you put out there for women to acknowledge themselves. And I've been in quite a few events of yours, and I can see the power of that. Especially that it has to do that women overall, we've been told this is how we need to behave. We
Yeah.
constantly need to be givers, but we have this difficulty of giving to ourselves because it becomes shameful. And how could you, how dare you to be selfish because you constantly need to just give, 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 give. And and I always teach my clients and on all my podcasts and everywhere I do speaking is the self-care. It's not about being selfish.
Right.
Self-love is not about being selfish. It's about that you replenish yourself so you can give to other people.
Right. It's so true. I had a reset a client earlier today who the idea that it's selfish to have a vision of what you want to create in this world was absolutely one of the biggest things they reset. And then, you know, having a community of women that the mission of which is to hold space for women to connect and support each other and be uplifted and build confidence and step into our greatness and power. These are all things that not all of us grew up with that opportunity. So it's wonderful. And then the Wise Women Collective community gave birth to the Be More Conference for Women, which is a twice a year conference that I produce, and Brooke and Holly are also partners in that. And we see it as the opportunity to be a platform for women who have a great message to bring to other women, but maybe they aren't on the New York Times bestseller list yet, right? And so we also created it as a connection conference. So women who come to that conference don't experience it the way most online conferences are, that you're just watching a YouTube channel, right? You might as well just be watching TV. Our conference is filled with opportunities for real live connection, both with the speakers and with the other attendees. So you get to meet people, you get to talk to people, you get to uplift each other. It's just I don't think I can ever stop doing it because I just feel like it's so special.
And, also, I can add to what you just said that somebody can listen in and you think, oh, in those events, they probably already someone who's very accomplished, and if they have those, limiting beliefs about themselves that they are unworthy or they're not enough the way they are, or they don't believe that they can actually achieve more than they, it's just a little limiting belief they have, like this is my boundary, is it's not true because all of those women that participate in your events, we are all there on a different path, on a different level of how much we accomplished.
Yeah.
The beauty of this is we don't even know how far we will all go, but the inspiration really happens when somebody doesn't need to be, at the Jupiter for me to be inspired. Somebody can be just on
Right.
the moon and I can say, oh, you know what? If they went that far, I can believe in myself. I can go that far too. This
Yeah.
real inspiration is when we get it from somebody just who's just few steps ahead of you. And that's what I
Mm.
like about your groups of what they encompassing all the women there, because they all at the different levels. They all doing something inspirational. And every time when I get there, I always get more inspired to go and do more and just replenish the energy.
Mm.
Especially when we're a woman, we just give, 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 give. Was like, oh wow, I'm also seen, I'm also validated, and
Yes.
belonging. I think when you just said a little bit about pandemic, that just made people more isolated.
Mm.
And when we are even in the group of people, if we're not really allowing ourselves to be seen because we think that that's not safe to us, we will isolate ourselves. On top of it, the whole culture or the people that you're with running away from you too, because they're afraid to have a disconnection. So there's so many multiple ways how we can help ourselves if we really want to. And what is one, and I know probably somebody's listening in and now like, okay, so I just need to do reset it. But what is the one thing that you can tell somebody that they really need to start implementing in their lives?
Well, I would say, find your people, find your community, connect with other people. And um, when you notice whatever's stopping you from whatever result you want, then just ask yourself, is this for me? Is this thing that's stopping me really mine? And if not, do something about it, whether it's reset it or whether you get led down some other path. But don't allow yourself to just stay stuck. It's not worth it. Life is too precious to spend it stuck. Yeah, that's what I would say.
And I think when we will just have just enough courage to do something little for ourselves, we'll realize that, oh, guess what? I just took 5 minutes and I did nothing and nobody died. This
Right. I love that. I love that so much. And I will share one other thing with you. It's from my book, Nine Little Words to Change Your Results. So if you notice in your life that there's something, some result you wish was different. I wish I weren't stressed. I wish I weren't burned out. I wish I weren't worried about how my kid's going to go to college and not incur a bunch of debt. Like whatever it is, whatever result, these are the nine little words. It's three phrases. So you don't have to remember nine things. You only have to remember three things. So the first one is up until now. So whatever you're thinking, like I'm stressed, I'm burned out. Okay, well, up until now, I've been feeling stressed and burned out. And do you see what that does? So up until now is a phrase that interrupts our old pattern of thinking and lays down the possibility that it can be different from here on out in three words, up until now. And then the next phrase is, I am willing. So I am willing adds action to affirmation. So what are you willing to do about it? Right? I am willing. My I am willing list over the years is often a bullet point list. I'm a bullet point list maker from way back. So, but always included is how I'm going to think differently. Right? That's always part of I'm willing to think differently about this. And then the last phrase is the one that makes you commit. It is no matter what. So that's how you commit. That's how you make sure that you're really going to do what you said you were willing to do and get a different result from the up until now. And that little tool, it's just a tool for your toolbox, but that little tool has been used by athletes and business people and all of this for years. I'm about to announce that we have a new version of Nine Little Words coming out for the 10-year anniversary of it. So keep your ears open for that. But it's a wonderful little tool just as it stands. And that's the deal, right? Just allow yourself to recognize when things are in your way and do something about it.
I also what I love about what you just said is a lot of times we stress because we cannot control things. So those
Mm,
questions that you ask yourself, you are showing to yourself that you can control it. And then when you put
yes.
intention towards that, you start building our trust within yourself, what helps you
Mm.
to be more confident, that it helps you to approach stressful situations better. We can talk forever about this,
We
but
could. I was thinking that too.
so how those who now are ready to change their life or a little bit just finally take the courage over just a little bit moving forward, just do just something a little bit today, how they can reach you and how they can book calls with you and what's coming up and when all, of course, we will put all those information, all that in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube, but Where's the place for them to go?
So the easiest place to go is meet, MEET, Lin, LIN, here.com, HERE. So meetlinhere.com. It'll take you to a page that has buttons to everything else. So that's the easiest place to start. Whether you're interested in one piece of any of this, finding my book or finding Reset It or finding Wise Women Collective, you'll find it all there. That's the easiest place.
Wonderful. I am so happy you spend time, even though you're super busy today, like you always are, and serving so many people and also taking care of yourself. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lynn, for chatting
Oh,
with me today.
thank you for having me, Lolita. I'm so always thrilled to be with you.